June 13, 1782, a sword fell in a small Swiss town, and a woman's head rolled onto the execution platform. It happened at the height of what historians call the Age of Enlightenment. Science was replacing superstition, reason was replacing fear, and yet in that single moment, Europe carried out one final execution for witchcraft. Officially, the charge on the court papers wasn't witchcraft at all. It was something else entirely, something that on paper made no legal sense whatsoever. To this day, historians still argue about what really happened in that house to that child, and to the woman who paid for it with her life. Her name was Anna Göldi, and her story would not be resolved for another 226 years. Anna was born in 1734 in the small Swiss village of Senwald, into a poor family with little to offer her beyond hard work. From the time she was a teenager, she supported herself as a domestic servant, moving from household to household, doing whatever labor kept a roof over her head. Life was not kind to her early on. In her early 30s, she became pregnant by a traveling mercenary who left the country before their child was even born. The infant died the very night it came into the world, a heartbreakingly common tragedy in an era of brutal infant mortality. But instead of receiving sympathy, Anna was accused of killing her own baby. She was publicly shamed and placed under years of house arrest, her reputation permanently stained by a death she likely had no hand in causing. She would become pregnant again, this time by a man she worked for, and once again she was left to navigate the consequences alone while he faced none. By the time she was 31 in 1765, Anna arrived in the canton of Glarus, seeking a fresh start far from the gossip that had followed her. There she found steady work as a maidservant in the household of Johann Jakob Tischudi, a respected doctor and local magistrate. For the next 17 years she served that household faithfully. 17 years is a long time. It is most of an adult life, and it was about to end in a nightmare. In late 1781, Tischudi's 8-year-old daughter began suffering strange and terrifying symptoms. She had convulsions, she complained of pain, and most disturbingly she began spitting up pins and needles, small sharp objects appearing, seemingly impossibly, from inside her own body. In a modern hospital, doctors would search for a rational medical explanation. In 1781, in a devout and superstitious corner of Switzerland, the family reached for a different explanation entirely. Someone had cursed her. Someone close to the family had done this to her, using dark, unnatural means. Suspicion fell immediately on Anna Göldi, the servant who had lived in that house for nearly 2 decades. There was no real evidence connecting Anna to the child's illness, nothing beyond fear, suspicion, and her position as a servant with no power to defend herself. But there may have been another motive hiding beneath the surface, one far more human than anything supernatural. Some historians who have studied the case closely believe that Johann Jakob Tischudi had been involved in a sexual relationship with Anna, and that if the truth ever came to light, it would destroy his reputation as a respected doctor and magistrate. Getting rid of Anna permanently, discrediting her so thoroughly that no one would ever believe anything she said, would have solved that problem entirely. Sensing the danger closing in around her, Anna fled Glarus. But a powerful man's accusation carried enormous weight in that society, and it did not simply disappear because the accused had run. In February of 1782, the authorities of Glarus placed an advertisement in the local newspaper, offering a reward for Anna Göldi's capture. She was tracked down and arrested, and then came the interrogation, under repeated torture, a common and legally accepted method of extracting confessions in that era. Anna finally broke. She confessed to entering into a pact with the devil himself, who she said had appeared to her in the shape of a black dog. It was exactly the kind of confession her interrogators wanted to hear, delivered in exactly the language they expected. The moment the torture stopped, Anna withdrew every word of it. She said none of it was true. It didn't matter. The confession, extracted under unbearable pain, was already on the record, and it would be more than enough to convict her. Here is where the case becomes even stranger. The court did not officially charge Anna Göldi with witchcraft. By the late 1700s, doing so openly would have exposed the entire proceeding to ridicule and outrage across an increasingly rational Europe. Instead, the official charge was poisoning. There was one enormous problem with this. Under the laws of the time, poisoning that did not result in death did not carry a death sentence. The child, after all, had survived. Yet Anna was sentenced to die anyway. During the trial, the court's own protocols and records were later destroyed, and almost every witness called to testify happened to be a friend or associate of the Tischudi family. It was in nearly every sense that matters, a witch trial wearing a different name to avoid the shame of being called one. On June 13, 1782, Anna Göldi was led out and executed by the sword. She was 47 years old. Word of her execution spread quickly across Switzerland and the wider Holy Roman Empire, and the reaction was not one of satisfaction or relief. It was outrage. Educated society, deep in the values of the Enlightenment, was horrified that something resembling a medieval witch hunt had occurred in their own supposedly rational time. Anna Göldi's case became one of the first in history to be openly described using a term that had never quite been applied this way before: judicial murder. A killing carried out not by a criminal in the shadows, but by a court of law itself, hiding behind the language of legitimate justice. For more than 2 centuries, Anna Göldi remained a footnote in history, remembered mainly as the last witch of Europe. But her story was not finished. A Swiss lawyer and journalist named Walter Horser became obsessed with uncovering the full truth of her case. He spent years digging through archives, piecing together exactly what had happened in that courtroom in 1782, and building a case that Anna Göldi had been the victim of an illegal trial rather than a justified execution. His work paid off. On September 20, 2007, the Swiss parliament in the canton of Glarus formally acknowledged that Anna Göldi's case had been a devastating miscarriage of justice. Then on August 27, 2008, 226 years after her death, the government of Glarus officially exonerated Anna Göldi, declaring that she had been subjected to an illegal trial. It was the first time in European history that a woman executed for witchcraft had been formally, legally rehabilitated by the very government that had condemned her. Anna Göldi never got to see her name cleared. She never got to hear the words that finally, after more than 2 centuries, admitted the truth, that she had done nothing supernatural, that a frightened doctor and a terrified community had destroyed an innocent woman to protect a powerful man's reputation, and that the sword that fell in 1782 had cut down someone who never deserved to die. Her story stands today as a haunting reminder that fear can dress itself up as justice, that power can rewrite the truth to protect itself, and that sometimes it takes centuries, not years, for the truth to finally be allowed to speak.